FIFA 23 is finally here and we are starting things off with an absolute bang. This is how to perform every single skill move in depth in FIFA 23. I'm providing you with daily uploads all year round for FIFA 23, so hit the sub button lads and let's get into it.
I'm sure he's wishing he does after that little taunt. It almost feels like a bit of a taunt. Didn't really go for it.
Oh! And then just tuck it underneath the goalkeeper. The control displayed there is absolutely ridiculous.
Juggling the ball, quite easy. You just need to hold L2 and tap that R1 button and the player will indeed juggle the ball. The body feint can be performed by flicking the right stick to the side of where the player is facing, which is either 3 or 9 o'clock. So it's either to the right or to the left of where the player is facing, and then you're pointing the left analog stick into a direction that you want to exit out with the body feint. So the body feint will make the player shimmy, and then you need to exit out with the left stick. Now, if you're struggling to actually execute this skill move, I recommend double flicking to the side of the player the right stick. This will help you. This will help with the actual registering. This will help with the registering of this skill move. This will help you register this skill move a lot better in FIFA 23. The Stepovers, they're back baby, and well, let's just say you should definitely be using them this year in FIFA 23. To perform it, what you need to do is enter in from the front of where the player is facing, which is of course 12 o'clock, and then you're rotating either anti-clockwise or clockwise around to the side of the player. So it's either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then once the player performs the stepovers, you can exit out with the direction similar to the body feint with the left stick. So you can exit out to the side, to the front, or to the back. Reverse stepover, it's in the name, it's just the reverse movement with the right stick. So you're entering in at either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, which is to the side of the player, and then rotating the right stick around to the front of the player, which is of course 12 o'clock, and then again, you can exit out with the left stick to the direction that you want to exit. The ball roll is one of the best skill moves in my opinion. So simple and easy to perform. You just hold the right analog stick either to the left or to the right of where the player is facing. So that's a 3 o'clock or a 9 o'clock angle. But you need to hold it for a split second, okay? So that the actual ball roll will register after you hold that angle with the right stick. Drag back, my god, what a classic. You just have to hold in the R1 or L1 button and then drag back with the left stick backwards to where the player is facing. So you're basically holding in L1 and R1, dragging back with the left stick to a 6 o'clock angle, which is behind the player. But then, if you don't want to do a direct behind drag back, you can do it to the side if you like. So you drag it back at 6 o'clock, you can then exit out to a certain direction. So you drag it back, and then as the player is performing the drag back, you can go to the side, you can go to the front, you can go to the back. It really depends on what direction you exit out after the split second drag back that you perform when you hold it backwards. So I want to go to the side, to the right, I hold it at 9 o'clock to the right of the player. I want to go to the left, I can hold it to the left. Wherever you want to go, you can do it. The heel flick, one of my most favourite skill moves in previous years. To perform it, it's quite simple, flicking forwards and to the back of where the player is facing. So it's bang bang, front facing, so 12 o'clock, and then behind the player, which is of course 6 o'clock. So it's a front and then back moving with the right stick, and he'll perform the heel flick. The flick up, quite useful to start off juggling. You just need to press down on the R3 button and the player will flick the ball up. The roulette. Oh wow, what a skill move this is. You just have to enter in behind the player and then rotate it around to the side of the player, but you need to do a full rotation. So you're entering in behind, which is 6 o'clock, and then depending on which direction you want to do the roulette will depend on which side you go. So you go into the back, you enter in at the back, you then rotate around. If you want to go to the right with the roulette, clockwise around past 9 o'clock, past 12 o'clock, and into 3 o'clock. If you want to do the roulette to the left, it's entering in at behind the player at 6 o'clock, rotating around 3, 12 to 9, okay? And he will perform the roulette. fake left and go right, or the fake right and go left. It's similar to the movement of the elastico and reverse elastico. You're entering in to the side of the player. So it's either 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, depending on which direction you want to do the actual fake, and then you rotate it around to the back of the player, which is 6 o'clock. So you're entering in at the side, and depending on which side you want to enter in will depend on which side the player will go, whether it's left or right, and then you're entering or you're rotating around either clockwise or anti-clockwise back around to 6 o'clock. The rainbow flick, just flick back once and then flick forwards once. It's that simple, it really is. You just have to enter in or flick back at 6 o'clock, which is behind the player, and then forwards, which is 12 o'clock. And you'll perform the rainbow. Advanced rainbow, it is advanced indeed. You just have to flick back, similar to the rainbow, backwards to where the player is facing, which is 6 o'clock. But then you want to hold forwards once around, let's say, a second or so, and then flick forwards again. So it's back once and then forwards twice. But the first forwards, you want to hold it for a split second extra. And this will allow you to perform the advanced rainbow flick. The Berba spin, flick forwards and then to the side of where the player is facing, depending on which direction you want to do the Berba spin. Okay, so forwards is 12 o'clock. It's front facing to where the player is facing, and then of course you need to flick either to the left or to the right of where the player is facing. He'll perform the Berba spin. The double touch exit. Okay, it's similar to the reverse elastico and the elastico in terms of the first movement, but you're adding in an extra movement with the left stick. Okay, so you're entering into the side of the player, which is either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You're then rotating around to the side. It's the opposite to the actual elastico and reverse elastico. Actually similar movement to the step over. And then basically you want to flick diagonally forwards, either to the left or to the right, but depending on which direction you did the actual step over movement. Okay, so if I did a movement to, let's say, the right, I then want to do a flick with the left stick diagonally to the left. So it's the opposite direction to where you decided to actually do the step over movement. Okay, and this will perform the double touch exit. The double touch spin. You just need to flick either to the left or to the right of where the player is facing, and then you want to flick the left stick diagonally backwards to the opposite direction. So if I flick to the right of where the player is facing, I then flick with the left analog stick backwards diagonally, but to the left slightly. So it's the diagonal angle of the left stick, and he will perform the double touch spin. The scoop turn, I find it's actually quite easy to perform, especially when you're standing still with 4-star stillers. This is not the 5-star variation, but the 4-star variation. Now, to actually make this register a lot better, what you can do is hold in L2, and the player will perform a scoop turn more efficiently. You can do it just by performing a fake shot, which is either cross or shoot with pass pressed subsequently afterwards, whilst you're standing still. But if you do want to do a scoop turn as you receive the ball with a 4-star skiller, then you need to hold in L2, and this will help you register that skill move. The advanced heel flick, similar movement to the heel flick. It's forwards and then back, but you're holding R1. Okay, so it's R1 or RB on its spots, and the player will perform the advanced heel flick. The fake pass, holding R1 or RB and then perform a fake shot. So it's either cross or shoot with pass subsequently afterwards, and the player will fake the pass and then drag it back. The ball roll cut, you just need to hold to the side of where the player is facing like a ball roll, okay, but then flick the opposite direction. So if I do the ball roll to the right, I'm then flicking to the left of where the player is facing, and he, while standing still, will perform the ball roll cut. The Ronaldo shot brought to us by CR7 himself. It's similar to previous years. You're just holding L2 and then performing a fake shot, which is either cross or shoot with pass pressed subsequently quickly afterwards, and then you're pointing, okay, the left analog stick diagonally backwards either to the right or to the left. So diagonally backwards to the right or to the left, and the player will perform the Ronaldo chop. Or in fact, you could press down to the side with the left stick, either to the right or to the left. The ball roll into Ronaldo chop, or the ball roll chop as they call it. You just need to hold in with the right stick to the right or to the left of where the player is facing for him to do the initial ball roll, and then hold the opposite direction. Okay, so it's to the right and then hold it opposite to the left. The player will ball roll it and then chop it to the opposite direction. The NEYMAR ball roll brought to us by the man himself. You're holding in either left or right with the right stick to where the player is facing, and then you're going to hold forwards with the right stick. Okay, so it's either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then you're holding it forwards at 12 o'clock. And he'll perform a, let's say, ball roll into RABONA, which is the variation brought to us by the V drag. Very, very fancy skill move. You just need to hold in L2 or LB, and then you perform a fade shot, which is either cross or shoot, with pass subsequently afterwards. And then what you want to do is point diagonally forwards, either left or right, with the left stick. And the player will perform a V drag into the right direction, depending on which direction you pointed with the left stick. The ELASTICO, what a skill move this is. One of the best in this game in FIFA 23. All you need to do is basically hold in, or at least flick in to the right or enter into the right of where the player is facing, and then drag it around clockwise to the back of the player. So you're entering in at the right to where the player is facing, and then around, rotating around clockwise to the back. So it's entering in at 3 o'clock, rotating around to 6 o'clock, and this will allow you to perform the ELASTICO. The reverse ELASTICO, again, what a skill move this year. Okay, it's been very, very overpowered in previous years, especially in this year in FIFA 23. To perform it, you need to enter in with the right stick to the left of the player and then rotate around to the back. So it's the reverse variation compared to the regular ELASTICO. So you're entering into the left, rotating anti-clockwise around to the back of the player. So it's entering in at 9 o'clock, rotating around to 6 o'clock. With ball rolls, all you need to do is hold back to where the player is facing with the right stick, and the player will drag it back consistently as a quick ball roll motion. Hocus Pocus, what a skill move this is. You need to obviously enter in with the right stick to the left of the player, so it's 3 o'clock, rotate it around to 3 o'clock. So you're entering in at 9, rotating around anti-clockwise to 3, and then back around to 6. Okay, so it's like a movement, right? You're creating a bit of a W. Okay, it is very advanced to perform, but once you get it down pat, it does become quite easy to perform. The triple ELASTICO. Alright, it's the opposite movement to the Hocus Pocus itself. What you need to do is enter in at the back of the player, rotate it around to the right of him, so that's 3 o'clock, and then rotate it back around to 9 o'clock. Okay, so it's entering in at 6, rotating around to 3, and then rotating clockwise around back to 9, and he will perform the triple ELASTICO. The L Tornado, what a nightmare in FIFA 19, lads. To perform it, you hold in L1 or LB, flick forwards, and then either left or right to where the player is facing. So you're flicking forwards, which is 12, and then to the side, which is either 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. The Zombrero flick, I had a lot of fun with this last year in FIFA 22. To perform it, you're entering or you're flicking forwards to where the player is facing at 12 o'clock with the right stick. You're then flicking backwards twice, and the player will flick it backwards over their head. Magidi spin, brought to us by the man himself, Magidi, lads. To perform it, it's similar movement to the BERBA spin, and this is a skill move that is performed by all 5-star skillers. You just flick forwards and then to the side of where the player is facing. So it's either 12 o'clock, and then you flick it either to the left or to the right, which is either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. The fake RABONA, very advanced but looks very fancy. What you need to do is hold in L2 or LT, and then what you want to do is perform a fade shot, but whilst you perform it, hold the opposite direction to where the player is facing with the left stick. So it's holding in L2 or LT, performing a fade shot, and as you perform a fade shot, hold the opposite direction to where the player is facing. He'll perform a fake RABONA to have the ball stand still on the spot. The open up fade shot. Okay, all you have to do is hold in L1 or LB and then perform a fade shot whilst pointing the left stick either to the left or to the right. And the player will do a momentum fade shot which takes the ball in with them past the defender. The running flick up. All you have to do is hold in the R3 button. The player as he's running will scoop the ball up. It's a great way to get it over the tackle of the defender or indeed to dink it back post. The ground sombrero. It's performed a little bit differently this year. You don't hold the right stick backwards to where the player is facing. What you actually do is you flick it, and then what you will do is point the left stick backwards to where the player is facing. And when I mean flick, I mean press. So when you have the ball received, you want to press the right stick and then hold the left stick backwards. And the player will perform the ground sombrero. The FLAIR sombrero. This ball has to be in the air as you do this, but if you want to flick it back overwards to the back of where you are facing, you just need to hold the right stick back. The player will perform a flick back over his head. The ball roll sombrero. What a fancy skill move this is. You just need to roll the stick either to the left or to the right of where the player is facing, the right stick that is, to perform a ball roll. But as you perform it, press down on the right stick. He will ball roll and then he will flick it up. The 3-touch roulette. You just need to hold in L2 and then flick backwards the right stick, backwards to where the player is facing, and then either to the left or to the right of where he's facing. And that will determine what side he does the actual 3-touch roulette, either to the left or to the right. FLICKUP. What an absolute nightmare in FIFA 19. To perform it, you hold in L1 or LB and then hold the right stick either to the left or to the right where the player is facing. He will perform a FLICKUP. The alternative ELASTICO chop. Hold in R1 or RB and then you want to flick backwards to where the player is facing, which is obviously sits o'clock, and then to the side. So you want to flick backwards, sits o'clock, and then flick either left or right to where he is facing, which is of course 3 or 9 o'clock. The HOCUS flick. Hold in L1 or LB and then hold the right stick forwards to where the player is facing, and he will flick the ball up, scoop it up over the defender. The laces flick up. Hold in L2 and then tap the R1 button. He will flick the ball up with his laces, especially if he's a 5-star skiller, to start juggling. Sombrero whilst juggling. Start juggling, lads. Hold in L2, tap the R1 button, and as he's doing that, hold the left stick completely the opposite direction to where the player is facing, and he will perform the sombrero whilst juggling. Around the world, you need to be juggling whilst you're doing this. Of course, perform it. What you need to do is be juggling and then use the right analog stick to enter in at 3 o'clock. Rotate around clockwise all the way to the front of the player, which is 12 o'clock, and the player will perform around the world whilst juggling. The waka waka, quite advanced. You need to hold in the right stick to the side of the player, to the right of the player. Okay, so it's 3 o'clock. You're then rotating the right stick around to the front of the player, which is 12 o'clock. And as you're doing that, hold the left stick to the opposite direction to where you are doing that movement with the right stick. So it's to the left. Okay, it's flicking it to the left. So you're doing that movement of entering in at 3 around to 12 anti-clockwise. You're then holding the left stick and flicking the left stick to 9 o'clock direction, which is to the left. The Balassi flick. I'm sure if you've been watching the channel for quite some time, you've seen in the intro we did one of those in the E-League one year, and what a goal it was with this skill move. To perform it, you need to hold in R1 or RB and then flick forwards and then either side to where the player is facing. So depending on which side you want to do the Balassi flick will depend on which side you flick the right stick to either the left or to the right once you flick forwards with the right. The fancy drag back. Hold an L2 or LT and then perform a fade shot whilst pointing the left stick forwards to where the player is facing. He will drag it back, look the opposite way, and then continue going forwards. The drag back fake, certainly one of the hardest skill moves for me in terms of having to perform it back in the day and learning this skill move. To perform it, you need to hold in L1 and R1, of course, the same as the drag back itself, or LB and RB. And then you want to drag back with the left stick. But as you do the drag back, you want to rotate around to the right, which is, of course, 3 o'clock, to the right of the player, and then around to the back of the player, and then around to the left of the player. So it's rotating back to 6, around to 3, and back around to 9. Depending on which side you want to actually do the drag back fake will depend on which side you go first. So if you want to go to the right with the drag back fake, you're of course using the left stick to enter in at the back of the player, then rotate around to the left, which is of course 9 o'clock, and then back around to 3, which is to the right of the player, which is 3 o'clock, and he'll perform the drag back. The FLAIR Roulette. What you want to do is hold in L1 or LB, and then you want to enter in at either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock to where the player is facing, so either to the left or to the right, and then you're rotating around to the back of the player and the back around to the opposite side of where you entered in. So if you want to do the FLAIR Roulette to the right, you enter in with the right stick to the left of the player, which is of course 9 o'clock, rotate around to 6, which is the back, and then rotate around to 3, which is the right. The opposite as well. If you want to do to the left, enter in at the right, which is 3 o'clock. Rotate around to 6, and then rotate around to 9. And he will perform the FLAIR Roulette. The setup touch. To perform it, lads, all you need to do is hold in R1 and then flick the right stick any direction, okay? And he will slowly set the ball up for a shot or pour a pass. The feint and exit. Hold in L1 and then rotate back to where the player is facing and then around to the left or around to the right. Okay, and the player will perform the feint and exit. The drag back Zombrero. Hold in L1 or R1 at the same time, and then you want to drag it back, which is of course the left stick, pointing backwards to where the player is facing, which is 6 o'clock, and then you want to flick down, or at least press down on the right stick, which is R3. The player will drag it back and then the drag to drag, hold in L2 or LT and then perform a fake shot whilst letting go of the left stick, and the player will drag it back almost like the quick ball rolls. The feint forward and turn, brought to us a couple of years ago, and not a bad skill move for recycling the ball. Flick back with the right stick twice, okay, and the player will do a feint forward and turn around the complete opposite direction to where he's facing. Ball roll fake turn. Hold in L2 or LT, and then you want to flick with the right stick forwards and then to the side of where the player is facing. Okay, and what will happen is it will do a ball roll and then it will fake turn around to the opposite direction. The drag to heel. You just need to hold in L1 or LB, and then you want to flick backwards to where the player is facing and then to the side of where the player is facing. So it's backwards and then either left or right. The directional nutmeg. You just need to hold in L1 and R1 and then flick the right analog stick into a direction that you want to do the directional nutmeg. The nutmeg, very similar to the directional nutmeg, but you want to hold in L1 and R1, okay, or LB and RB, and then flick forwards to where the player is facing with the right stick, and he will flick it forwards between the legs of the defender. The skilled bridge, very similar, okay, to the bridge itself, but you're holding in L2 to do this, and what the player does is almost like a Rabona style skilled bridge to flick it in front of them past the defender. So basically you're holding in L2 on LT, and then you want to double flick the R1 or the RB button depending if you're on PS5 or Xbox. The 4-touch turn, brought to us last year in FIFA 22. You just need to hold in LT or L2, and then you want to flick backwards to where the player is facing for him to perform the 3-touch or 4-touch. The first time spin for your 5-star skill is hold in L1 and R1 at the same time, and as he receives the ball, he will spin with that ball. If you're on Xbox, it's LB and RB. The scoop, turn, fake. All you need to do is basically perform a scoop turn by performing a fake shot. Okay, so you're doing the cross or shoot button with pass press subsequently afterwards. You're then holding the left stick to the right or to the left diagonally, and as you do that, hold the opposite direction to where you did the scoop turn. So if you did the scoop turn to the left with the left stick, then flick it backwards as he's doing the scoop turn to the right, and he will perform the scoop turn. The fake shot stop. One of my favourite skill moves simply because of how easy and basic it is, and it's a very good way of stopping the ball instantaneously. To perform it, you perform a fake shot and left go of the left stick as you perform it. So it's either cross or shoot with pass press subsequently up. The fake shot, similar to the fake shot stop, you're just performing a fake shot by pressing down and holding on the shoot or the cross button, and then as you do that, press the pass button. The player will perform a fake shot and you let go, and what you do is you basically point into a direction with the left stick for him to then perform that fake shot. The Cruyff turn. It's similar to the fake shot, but what you're doing is you're pointing with the left stick completely the opposite direction to where the player is facing. Of course, your 5-star skillers need to have this skill move, and basically, yeah, it's quite simple. It's a fake shot whilst holding the left stick the opposite direction. The spin skill move. Holding R1 or RB, okay, and then you want to enter into the back of the player with the right stick, and then rotate either left or right, okay, depending on which direction you want to do the spin skill move. So either clockwise or anti-clockwise around to the front of the player, and he will perform the spin skill. The shot cancel. Okay, very useful skill last year and still very useful this year. You just need to press the shoot button down and then quickly press the L2 and R2 button together, okay, or LT and RT, and the player will perform a shot cancel as you point the left stick into the direction you want to. The dink touch. I like this, I really do, because you can then get over the player's foot as he approaches you. As you receive the ball, just press down on the right stick and point the left stick into the direction you want to dink the ball. The player will flip it over. Explosive sprint. All you need to do is double tap on that sprint button, which is of course R2 or RT, and the player will flick it out in front of them to speed boost away. The knock on. All you need to do is hold the right stick forwards for around a second or two, and the player will flick it forwards very far in front of them to speed boost away from the opponent. The advanced Elastico chop. Hold an R1 and then you want to flick back with the right stick to the back of the player and then either side. Okay, so it's back, which is sits, and then either 3 or 9 o'clock, to the left or to the right. The chest flick up. You need to be juggling for this, but the ball needs to be around that head height area, and then you want to flick down on the right stick. Press down on the right stick a couple of times, at least 3 times, and the player will perform the chest. The Elastico whilst juggling. You just need to be juggling for this. You need to be holding in L2 and LT, okay, and then you want to be tapping the R1 or RB button, alright, and then you want to flick to the right of where the player is facing, which is 3 o'clock, and then to the left, which is 9 o'clock, and he'll perform an Elastico whilst he is juggling. Reverse Elastico whilst juggling. You're just holding that L2 button, tapping the R1 button, same as juggling, and then what you want to do is flick to the left of the player and then to the right of the player with the right stick. So it's left, right, and he'll perform the reverse Elastico whilst juggling. The heel to heels 2-star variation. You're holding in L2, and then what you're doing is performing a fade shot whilst holding the left stick forwards to where the player is facing. He'll perform the heel to heels. The sombrero to the side whilst juggling. You just need to be juggling with this, and then you want to flick the right stick to the left or to the right, and the player will flick it like a sombrero to the left or to the right. Draft, dribbling, holding L1 and LB, okay, you're on net spots, and then you want to be using the left stick to move backwards into the side, and the player will drag it back as a strafe dribbling. Agile dribbling, it's a necessary component in your attacking game and dribbling game in FIFA 23, of course. Now, to perform it, you just need to hold in R1, okay, and then you can move around with the left stick as an agile. The sombrero whilst juggling. You just need to be juggling whilst you're doing this. Holding in L2, tapping R1, and then hold the right analog stick backwards to where the player is facing. He will flick it over his head, and that is the sombrero whilst juggling. Hop the world whilst juggling. All you need to do is be juggling for this. So L2, R1, and then you need to be holding in the left stick. As you rotate the right analog stick from 3 o'clock clockwise around to 6, and then around to 9, and then around to 12. Okay, so it's a full rotation from the right of the player around to the left and then around to the front, and he'll perform hop the world. Reverse around the world. All you need to do is do juggling for this. So L2 and tapping that R1 button, and then you need to be holding in the L3 button, which is the left stick. Then you enter in at a 9 o'clock angle, so to the left of the player with the right stick. Rotate it around anti-clockwise all the way to the front of him. Okay, and he'll perform the reverse around the world. The sombrero flick on. You just need to be receiving the ball in the air, and then you need to hold in L2. Then tap the cross button, which is square, or of course X on 8 spots, and he'll perform sombrero flick. The rainbow flick whilst juggling. Just be juggling for this, L2, and then you need to be obviously tapping the R1 button. As you're doing this, you want to flick backwards and then forwards with the right stick, and he'll perform the rainbow whilst juggling. Heel to heel 3-star variation. Okay, obviously you need a 3-star skill for this. You need to flick forwards and then backwards to where the player is facing. He'll perform a less advanced version of the heel. The half drag bat, brought to us by TAS actually in FIFA 17. You just need to perform a drag back, so L1, R1, and then drag the ball back halfway with the left stick and drop it. You don't want to exit, you're just dragging it back, and then obviously he'll stop the ball, drag it back a little bit to draw the defender. The ball roll fake. All you need to do is be standing still for this, and then hold the right stick either to the left or to the right of where the player is facing, and then of course you want to do the opposite way. So you hold the opposite way. So you go to the right and then hold it to the left, or to the left and hold it to the right. The drag bat, spin left or right. You just need to flick back with the right stick backwards to where the player is facing, which is 6 o'clock, and then either side to where he is facing, so either left or right. And the player will drag it back as he's going. Quick turn 5-star variation. This is when you're running, of course. All you need to do is perform a fake shot and then have the left stick pointing either diagonally to the left or to the right, and the player, as he is running, will perform the 5-star scoop turn variation. Stop, stand still. As you're running or jogging, tap L1. The player will stop the ball on the spot and face towards the goal. It's a great opportunity then to perform a skill move afterwards, because a lot of skill moves are a lot better when standing still. So that's why the stop, stand still is very effective in my opinion. Fake shot, speed, boost. Okay, all you need to do is be running for this, sprinting, and then you want to perform a fake shot whilst you're sprinting and have the left analog stick pointed either to the left or to the right, forwards diagonally, and the player will perform a fake shot, speed, boost, run. The ball hop. Hold an L1 or LB and then press down on the right stick. And what will happen is the player will hop the ball up so that you can continue going past the defender as he dives in. Reverse toe bounce. It's almost like you're performing a ball roll into Ronaldo chop whilst you're juggling. So it's holding to the right and then to the left, or to the left and then to the right as you're juggling, or you're holding L2 and then tapping in R1. The on-read pass, all you need to do is be, as you're receiving the ball, holding in L2 and then press the pass button, and he'll do a pass off the back of a fake kick. The bicycle pass, all you need to do is be holding in L2 as the player receives the ball in the air, and then what will happen is he'll do a bicycle pass behind him to a player so he can receive the ball. The roulette pass, just to be holding in L2, pressing pass and then press forwards or hold forwards with the left stick, and he will perform the roulette pass. The drag bat pass, you need to perform a drag bat for this, so you're holding an L1 and R1 and then dragging back with the left stick, and as he's halfway, press the pass button. He'll drag it back and then pass into the The back heel pass, very good, especially if you're facing the opposite direction to where the player is facing. Hold an L2 and then press pass, and also hold the left analog stick backwards to where the player is facing towards the player you want to pass to, and he'll perform the back heel pass. The scoop pass, all you need to do is be holding an L2 and then press down on the cross button, square or X on X spots, and he will perform a scoop pass into the player. Fake shot stop into different directions. What you need to do for this is you need to be running and then perform a fake shot, and then you want to point the left analog stick to a direction that you want to stop and face. But you're holding R1 or RB at the same time. So you're performing a fake shot stop, holding R1 or RB, and then you're pointing the left stick to a direction that you want to face. RABONA pass, similar to every other pass, skill pass, holding L2, and then you want to perform the pass button, and he will do a RABONA pass in the diagonal. The double touch exit, enter in to the side of the player, okay, and then rotate around to the opposite side. So it's either 3 o'clock, rotate around the back, around to the left to 9 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, enter in, and then rotate around the back to the right of the player. And whilst doing that, flick the left stick to the opposite direction that you're going with the right stick, okay, and he'll perform the alternative double touch exit. The FLAIR fake shot, holding R2 or RT, and then you want to perform a fake shot. He will kick the ball or pretend to kick the ball whilst the ball is still standing still. The lane change, hold an L1 or LB, and then flick either to the right or to the left, and basically right left or left right to where the player is facing. So either 3 o'clock and then into 9, or 9 o'clock into 3, he'll perform the lane change. The ball roll cut, hold an L1 and LB, or LB if you're on that spots, and then you want to flick backwards with the right stick to where the player is facing twice. It's almost like the feint forward and turn, but in this time you're holding in L1 or LB. The diagonal heel chop, similar to the Ronaldo chop, okay, but what you're doing is you're basically holding diagonally backwards to where the player is facing as you perform a fake shot, and holding L2 or LT, and he'll perform a Ronaldo chop but with the heel backwards. Super flits, this is actually new, and what you can do is you can basically hold the left stick either direction or any direction, and then you want to flick in, hold in the R3 button, and as you're pointing the left stick in any direction, he will flick the ball and burst off into that space. The skill bridge, performed differently this year. You need to hold an L2 or an LT, and then you want to flick forwards and then back to where the player is facing. So it's a different control this year. It's not just your regular L2 and then double tap R1. The disguised first touch, it's actually performed differently this year. You need to hold an L1 or R1 at the same time, and then you want to point the left stick forwards to where the ball has been received, and the player will perform the disguised first touch. Standing open up fake shot. It's brought to us this year in FIFA 23, and all you need to be doing is standing still whilst holding L1, perform a fake shot, and then hold obviously the left stick to the side of the player, and he will do a standing open up fake shot, which is almost like a feinted feint shot as you are standing still. The explosive fake shot. 4-star skillers can perform this, and basically it's a very fast version of the fake shot itself. You just need to perform a fake shot while sprinting, and then of course hold the left stick to the side of the player, okay, and there's a fake shot as well with this cross and then shoot with pass subsequently afterwards, and then that will perform the explosive fake shot. The jogging open up fake shot, it's actually a different angle this time in FIFA 23, it's been added in, and basically when you're jogging you can open up fake shot to the side, and he will do a complete cut, which is very, very let's say quick in the execution. He can turn very quickly with this skill move, and to perform it, it's just L1 fake shot and pointing the left stick to the side. First time feinted turn. This is actually a very good turn in my opinion, and all you need to do is hold in the L1 and R1 buttons whilst flicking the right stick backwards, okay, but I recommend slightly pressing the L1 button just before the R1 button, because if you just press the R1 button before the L1 button, he'll do a leave and basically it will go through him, which you don't want to do. You basically want to have the player turn, feint, and take the ball with them. The heel fake, a new skill move this year in FIFA 22. All you need to do is hold in L2 or LT on net spots and then flick the right stick left or right, or left or right and left. And basically the player will do the heel fake. The heel to ball roll, a new skill move this year, can be performed with 4-star skillers. You're just holding in the L2 button and then flicking forwards and back. It's almost like a heel flick motion, and basically the player will do a heel flick into a ball. The stutter feint, a 3-star skill move. Just hold in L2 and then flick right left with the right stick, or left right, and the player will do the stutter feint, a new skill move this year. So there you have it, lads. Complete tutorial on how to perform every single skill move in depth in FIFA 23. I hope you enjoyed it. This video took me a very long time to make, so we can drop a like, subscribe, and show your support that way. That would be much appreciated, lads. And of course, I'm doing tutorials all year round for FIFA 23, so why wouldn't you want to subscribe? Okay, I'm coaching one-on-one on patreon.com. The link is down below. And of course, lads, follow me on Insta and Twitter to keep in touch over there. But as always, I hope you have a good day. I'm out. Sayonara, au revoir, adios, salam, ciao. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And lastly, if you do want any pre-gaming fuel or supplement, then head over to atpscience.com, which is the first link in the description, and use the code AussieFIFA at checkout to get yourself a discount. Not only is it the cheapest way to get supplements, but it helps me out a ton, guys, so thank you.